Jason, I think my water broke. Can you take me to the hospital? That's gross. Just have a baby somehow. Jason was carrying a big bag heading towards the front door. I'm heading on a trip now? Just have it somehow. I was in disbelief. What does he mean by have it somehow? I can't even get to the hospital like this. At least call a cab. No way. That's a hassle. Can't you have it without causing trouble for others? The door slammed shut, and there I was, left alone in the room holding my belly. I was sweating badly, yet the room felt suddenly cold. Would a husband really go on a trip leaving his wife about to have a baby? I never imagined this when I got pregnant. I never thought I'd ever face something like that. This grudge will stay with me for life. My feelings towards my husband grew increasingly intense. We've been married for a year. I got pregnant with our long-awaited baby. I'm Linda, a 24-year-old office worker. I married Jason, my college classmate, right after graduation. For Jason, college was local, but my hometown was far, only reachable by plane. I thought about going back home to work, but we couldn't bear to be apart, so we got married. Jason had a lot of friends locally, and news of his early marriage spread quickly, bringing many congratulations. This is a so-called regional city, with universities and companies located downtown and fields in the suburbs. We live in a typical regional city. Jason's parents are divorced, and his mother lives alone in a house in the suburbs. She's very friendly and we hit it off right away. Sometimes she brings us produce from her garden, making me grateful for such a wonderful mother-in-law. However, Jason started acting differently shortly after I got pregnant. He became moody and sometimes spoke harshly. His overtime and business trips increased, leaving him less time at home. In the early pregnancy, Jason, even not knowing the baby's gender, wanted baby clothes, furniture, and toys for older ages. I smiled at his excitement, happy to share the joy of our baby's arrival. Especially on Wednesdays, he seemed to work late. He'd come home unusually energetic, usually cooking dinner. I didn't know Jason liked cooking so much. I lived with my mom for a long time. I have many specialties, but actually Jason's cooking was often too rich or oily for my changed taste during pregnancy. You don't need to cook when you're tired. Let me do this much? Sorry, but I can't eat much. I can't eat much these days. It would be a waste if I couldn't eat what you made. I tried to refuse gently, but he slapped me. I couldn't believe what was happening. Are you saying you can't eat my food? I didn't mean it like that. My body is just different because of the pregnancy. Always the pregnancy excuse. There are pregnant women at my work who still work and eat normally. I touched my still stinging cheek, choosing my words carefully. I had a lot to say back, but I didn't want to provoke him further. Being compared to other pregnant women was frustrating. Everyone is different. You keep buying spices and ingredients for cooking and wasting them. It's a waste of food expenses too. So it's all about money, huh? You're such a stingy woman. Jason clicked his tongue, taking all the food back to his room. I was left with unspoken words swirling in my head, and I hardly slept that night. After that, Jason stopped cooking and started eating out more often on his late nights. He wouldn't tell me, and would come home after eating, leaving me with extra food I prepared for him, and demanding more money for dining out, straining our finances even more. I decided to take maternity leave a bit early. It was my first pregnancy and I was full of anxiety, and my health was worse than expected, making it impossible for me to work. Even when I decided to take maternity leave, Jason was full of sarcasm. "Aren't you just being lazy?" he asked. "That's not it. I really feel unwell. Plus I haven't stopped doing the housework. Housework is just like odd jobs. It doesn't even make a penny." It seemed like, in Jason's view, I just lazed around all day. Despite his opposition, I somehow managed to start my maternity leave. I thought I could relax at home, but with hospital visits, managing my health, and more demanding housework, my days were tougher than ever. One evening, I got a call from my senior, Ashley. She was a year ahead of me in college and worked at the same company as Jason. She was a leader during our student days, almost like a sister to me. "How are you?" she asked. "Is the pregnancy going well?" "Hey Ashley, aren't you working late today?" I asked. "No, it's my day off. But today is Wednesday, right? Jason always seems busy on Wednesdays and comes home late. That's odd. Our company has a no overtime policy on Wednesdays. We're practically kicked out if we try to work. Ashley's words confused me. Then what was Jason doing every Wednesday, coming home late? She seemed to sense my bewilderment. I'll keep an eye on Jason's work situation from now on. She offered to help. That same night, Jason came home late again and went straight to the bathroom without saying anything. I was saying anything. His phone was lying face down on the table. I was wiping the table and accidentally dropped his phone. Oh no, I hope it didn't get scratched, I thought. Picking it up, the message screen was left open. I only saw it for a second, but there were messages with red heart emojis. He never used such emojis in our messages. A suspicion flickered in my mind. Could it be an affair? As I stood frozen, Jason came out of the bathroom saying, "Shoot, I forgot something." He was half dressed. Seeing me with his phone, he exploded in anger. What the heck? Why are you snooping through my phone? It's not like that. I accidentally dropped it. I was just checking for damages. How stupid can you be? I always tell you to do the housework properly. Look at this phone, now there's a scratch on it. But his phone screen was already cracked. I couldn't tell where the new scratch was. Supporting you seems like such a loss. You can't even do housework properly, and now you're trying to break my phone. It was an accident. Your backtalk is also annoying. Jason grabbed his phone angrily and returned to the bathroom. His forgotten item was apparently the phone. Taking a phone to the bathroom. With a sense of unease, my suspicion of infidelity grew. As my due date approached, Jason's mother said she would visit. She mentioned bringing seasonal vegetables from her garden. She was concerned about bothering me during this important time, but I was eager to hear her advice on childbirth and welcomed her. I cleaned the house from top to bottom that morning and even put on makeup, ready to welcome her. Jason seemed to have taken the day off and was at home. But he seemed to be going somewhere, packing a big bag. Are you going somewhere today? Your mom is coming soon. What? I didn't hear about that. I told you. But what about that bag? I stopped mid-sentence as a terrible pain hit my belly. A shocking sensation coursed through me. I felt something special happening to my body. Soon, a warm fluid began to trickle down my legs. Water broke? What's that, like peeing yourself? No, it's not that. The baby's trying to come out. That's nasty. Just have the baby yourself. Jason picked up a large bag and headed towards the front door. I'm going on a trip now. Just have it. In this situation, I can't even get to the hospital. Can you at least call a cab? No way. That's a hassle. Can't you have it without bothering anyone? As he said this, Jason called a taxi using his phone. It seemed he was actually calling one. The taxi will be here soon. I felt relieved. Despite everything, there was still some kindness left in him. But as soon as Jason saw the taxi arrive in front of the apartment, he left alone. The floor around me was already soaked. Can you at least help me walk? I'll try my best. What? You're coming too? That taxi is for me to go to the airport. Don't be so clingy. I was speechless with shock. Jason left without a second glance, getting into the taxi. I felt utterly abandoned. My phone was in another room. As I attempted to crawl there, someone knocked on the door. It was my mother-in-law. She saw my condition and immediately took me to the hospital in her car. Amidst the overwhelming pain, we somehow made it to the hospital. From there, everything was a blur of activity, leaving me no room to think. When I came to, a newborn baby was in my arms, making soft, indistinct sounds. It's over, I sighed with relief. The baby, unaware of the chaos before its birth, was experiencing its first breaths of air. Fortunately, the baby was healthy and full of energy. As I rested in the hospital room, my mother-in-law came with some food. Why were you alone at home? Didn't Jason say he was taking the day off? Well, just before you were supposed to arrive, he left for a trip. A trip? Leaving his wife in her final month of pregnancy. That's unbelievable. When my water broke, Jason didn't do anything. He just said to have the baby myself and left. My usually gentle mother-in-law was furious, a look I had never seen before. He said that. That's unbelievable. However, the fact that Jason wasn't home when she arrived and the water-soaked floor was undeniable. My mother-in-law had to accept the truth. The next day, my parents arrived from our hometown. I explained the situation to them. I also contacted Ashley, who was hesitant to visit so soon after the birth, but upon hearing I had something important to say, she made time to come. Actually, when my water broke, Jason just left for a trip. What do you mean? He never mentioned any trip plans before, and it was all of a sudden on the day. I asked him to at least call a taxi, but he took it himself to go to the airport. Ashley was furious upon hearing what happened. Then my mother-in-law arrived for a visit, trying to keep the mood light. Belinda, I hate to say this in front of your mother-in-law, but you should divorce him right away. I can't stop you, but doing it right now might be difficult. I feel awkward saying this in front of you. With that preamble, Ashley began to speak. Jason might be cheating. There's a woman named Emma in his department he's close to. Those two have taken leave together until tomorrow. Isn't that just speculation? Actually, I saw them walking hand in hand in the downtown area, and there's more evidence I can't reveal here, but it's significant. So was Jason really having an affair? Was this trip with his mistress? No matter how much I doubted after giving birth, I had no free time at all. Catching bits of sleep was all I could manage. When I muttered this, both my mother-in-law and Ashley's eyes sparkled. We'll help you, they said in unison. I didn't want to stay in that house anymore. I'll help with anything, they both offered, and I shared my thoughts. That's easy. Use my spare room. You can also stay at my place. Gratefully accepting their offer, I decided to live with my mother-in-law for a while after the birth. They even offered to move my clothes and baby items to my mother-in-law's house. I felt bad, but I could hardly move out of bed. Even going to the bathroom alone was a struggle. I gladly accepted their kindness. My mother-in-law and Ashley kept visiting me. My mother-in-law seemed happy to see her grandchild every time she visited, never complaining. She even showed me pictures of my belongings. They were moved into her spacious room, which looked very comfortable. Ashley helped a lot with the move. I couldn't help but be grateful to them. One day, while talking with my mother-in-law in the hospital room, my phone rang. It was Jason. I hesitated to answer, but my mother-in-law silently shook her head. I haven't even told Jason about the baby being born. Just ignore him. Let him figure things out on his own. My mother-in-law seemed to have given up on Jason far more than I had. The phone kept ringing. Thankfully, my room was private. I reluctantly answered in speaker mode. I'm in the hospital room. I can't talk for long. I just got back from the trip. Why are all our things gone? I've decided to live separately from you. Did you enjoy your trip? Never mind that. Did the baby get born? The baby was born safely. Jason's loud voice came through the phone. Why didn't you contact me right away? Don't mess with me. I'm the father. I don't recognize you as a father after you left for a trip while I was in labor and being rough. Don't be stupid. Who do you think provides for you? My mother-in-law frowned beside me. Ignoring Jason's loud voice, I calmly retorted, What are you doing at work, Jason? Having an affair? That's not true. His voice became low. Someone said they saw you walking downtown with a woman named Emma. Did you go on the trip with her? There was a sharp intake of breath from the other end. Jason's momentum seemed to falter. Still, he said this in a bluffing voice. Don't talk nonsense. Don't forget that you ignored me. Oh, I have to go. It's feeding time. I abruptly ended the call. My mother-in-law apologized to me. I can't believe Jason talks like that. I'm so sorry, Linda. It's my fault for how I raised him. You're not to blame. The reason I divorced his father was because of his violence. His way of talking just now scared me, reminded me of his father. Her expression was gloomy, probably recalling her difficult past. I hugged my mother-in-law's shoulders. You had a hard time. Don't worry, I'll handle my situation. You're carrying too much on your own. You've been working so hard. The house was always spotless, and you did your housework well. I had to be careful. Jason would get angry if I slacked off. He just doesn't understand how hard it is to be pregnant. I'll keep that in mind. Can I borrow your house tomorrow? My mother-in-law left these mysterious words and left the hospital room. The next day, she gathered people at my house, including Jason, his mistress Emma, and Ashley. I received a video call from Ashley. I had heard that I would be contacted, so I was preparing. My familiar home appeared on the screen. They were all sitting around the table. My mother-in-law had confronted Jason and forced him to contact his mistress. So, it's true that you two are having an affair? Don't call it an affair, and besides, Jason stuttered for a while, then started muttering. What can I do? Linda got pregnant and I couldn't touch her anymore. Ashley spat out, that's despicable. When Linda got pregnant, Emma approached me. She was kinder than I could ever imagine, unlike Linda. Linda was pregnant, it's natural for her to be overwhelmed. Didn't you think to support Linda during her pregnancy? I couldn't hold back and intervened. Well, that was impossible. Ever since I got pregnant, he just used work as an excuse to go out. Looking back, he was probably visiting his mistress. Everyone cheats, right? That's what men do. Don't say stupid things. The room went silent at Ashley's outrage. Don't lump all men with someone as low as you. What proof do you have? I'll sue for defamation. There is proof. I saw Emma's phone. Here it is. Ashley spread out printed messages and photos on the table. How did you get these? Emma, you left your password written on a note at your desk. I used it on your phone when you were away, and I found evidence of your affair. The messages were full of red hearts, discussing plans for a trip together, and there were many pictures of them as a couple. I felt dizzy. A man who cheats during his wife's pregnancy doesn't deserve to be a father. I agree. I can't stand to see my friends suffer like this. Jason's image, leaving me behind to go on a trip while I was in labor, flashed in my mind. I was in danger along with my child. I couldn't forgive this man. I had to make a decision. Otherwise, I won't be able to move forward. Jason, let's get a divorce. My mother-in-law and Ashley applauded. Why now? Isn't this the toughest time born? Who made it tougher? I don't want a father like you. Right? I don't recognize you as my son. Divorce? You're not thinking straight after giving birth. You're the one not thinking straight. Who would forgive a husband who cheats during pregnancy and leaves during labor? Calm down. At that time, Emma was more important to me. That's terrible. I can't believe you're human. Then someone visited the house. My mother-in-law answered, "Who is it?" A middle-aged man came in, introducing himself as Emma's husband. It turned out Emma was Mary, and Jason knew it since they were working in the same company. Her husband had suspected something and followed Emma today. Seeing the evidence of the affair, he was devastated. He had been worried for some time that his wife was cheating on him, but now he was convinced. Your wife was cheating with this man during his wife's pregnancy, Emma's husband declared. I can't believe it, she shrieked. I can't, I'm pregnant too. The room buzzed. She had planned to keep her pregnancy a secret until the stable period. But I had a feeling it wasn't true. Who's the father? Her husband asked coldly. I don't want a child whose father is unknown, he added. I agreed with him. Emma apparently had a 3-year-old daughter and was expecting her second child. She worked part-time supposedly for childcare, but she used her free time for the affair. The affair. Her husband must have felt betrayed as well. Her husband declared he would take care of their daughter, saying Emma was no longer a mother. All of you just don't get it. Fine, I'll marry Emma and we'll happily raise the child together. Jason boldly declared this, but a green document was subtly handed to him. Emma's husband had apparently brought divorce papers. It was with a lawyer's contact. Jason reached for the divorce papers, but they were swiftly pulled back. Then came the resounding words, let's talk about child support and division of property. Why should I pay them? I'll need money for the baby that's coming. I need money too. You're planning to leave your child and go to another woman, right? I'll definitely claim them. My mother-in-law nodded in agreement. Jason slammed his fist on the table. It's all your fault for getting pregnant. I still wanted to have fun. How can you say that? Have you ever thought about the baby? Tears welled up in my eyes, but my mother-in-law's words brought me back to reality. Don't just say things that suit you. Clean up your own mess. Come on, Mom, help me out here. I refuse. Didn't I say you're not my son anymore? After much argument, it was decided that I would demand child support from Jason. Emma's husband planned to do the same. Thanks to Emma's husband, we were able to contact the lawyer on the spot. My mother-in-law and Ashley agreed to be witnesses. They would bring the papers to the hospital room later. After finishing breastfeeding, I waited in the room until they arrived. I signed the papers to start the divorce process and handed them to my mother-in-law. I felt a sense of relief, having accomplished a big task. Though I was full of anxiety about raising a child on my own, when I looked up, I saw the reassuring smiles of two strong women. I had one request for Ashley. She promptly fulfilled it. I asked her to spread the word about Jason's actions throughout the company. In this small city, where relationships among acquaintances are strong, strange rumors can be damaging. While I worked at a different company and wasn't originally from this area, rumors wouldn't affect me much. My mother-in-law promised to block any information that might come my way. The effect was immediate. Linda, I spread the rumor. Our company values integrity. If there are odd rumors, you can't work properly. Thank you. I'm sorry for asking you to do something so strange. That's okay. Those two had poor performance anyway. Now they won't get any important tasks, and nobody at the company talks to them anymore. They're also from this area, so their friends know about it too. They had many friends locally, but everyone distanced themselves. Losing both their jobs and friends, they had nothing to rely on. Emma's husband decided to live with their first child, but the child wouldn't warm up to her during visits. Jason and Emma left the company, but finding new jobs was difficult, as they had acquaintances everywhere. Now Jason had moved out of our shared apartment and was living in a small place with Emma. According to my mother-in-law, who heard from neighbors, they constantly argued. It seemed fine while they were dating, but living together was another story. Considering child support and the care for the upcoming baby, they couldn't easily separate. I decided to stay with my mother-in-law during my maternity leave. Taking care of my grandchild is wonderful. It reminds me of when I was raising kids, and it makes me feel young again. She happily took care of the baby. During my leave, I helped in her garden whenever I had free time. It wasn't an obligation, but being outside under the blue sky was a good change of pace. Though I ended up living in this area by chance, I was beginning to appreciate the beauty of living surrounded by nature. Now, I have returned to work. After moving and getting accustomed to life in a new home with my child, I feel hopeful about starting anew. My mother-in-law assures me, come over anytime, I'll help you. Filled with hope for my new life, I am ready to embrace the future.